Hi, it's Janelle with Parsnips and Parsimony, and today is my 19-week pregnancy update video. Now, a lot happened in week 19. Not only did I have a midwife appointment, I also managed to schedule my anatomy scan ultrasound. So those were some pretty big things happening this week. But let's go back and start with my midwife appointment. Now, this past week I had some more issues with feeling very lightheaded, faint, and just feeling blah, and something was off. So I brought it up to my midwife. After chit-chatting with my midwife, pretty much the consensus is I need to be eating every 2 to 3 hours and not have any long stretches where I'm not eating. And what happened was on Monday I had eaten very healthy, very well, but I went, instead of 3 hours between some type of eating, I was at the 5-hour mark, and then I went out for a walk, and apparently from what my neighbor was saying, she said that I was really walking at a high rate of speed. And right now my walks consist of about 2 to 3 miles every time I go out. So I was good the first mile, mile and a half, and then all of a sudden I felt like I was just going to pass out. So when I talked to my midwife about it, she said pretty much I ran out of energy, I ran out of food, and my blood sugar was dropping. She told me to make sure that I carry some lifesavers in either my pocket or my purse in case that happens again, and to make sure that I eat every 2 to 3 hours. So far, I've been actually feeling better the last 3 days since I've been picking up my eating, so I'll just have to keep up on that and try to make sure that I don't go any longer than 3 hours, because I don't want to have an episode like that again. It's not a pleasant one to get halfway through your walk and not feel very well. She also said that the baby felt like it was measuring right on schedule. She didn't think the baby was too small or too big. She thought it was just right. She also still thought there was only one in there, for those of you who think there might be twins. And other than that, my blood pressure is still staying right around 100 over 60, 70, just depending on what I'm doing. So it's not in the 80s. Sometimes I'm getting a high 90s reading, but it's not hitting that 80 mark anymore, which is so nice because I feel like I'm getting some of my energy back. Although I really never lost a ton of energy, there were just some days where when my pressure was so low, I just kind of felt foggy-headed and little not quite as energetic as I usually am. So on Friday, I managed to schedule my ultrasound appointment. The ultrasound tech took a very long time, just measuring everything. And currently the baby is breech, which, as we know, it's only 20 weeks. There's a lot of fluid in there, baby's moving around a lot, so that's not an issue. But there's only one baby in there, according to the ultrasound. I didn't see any baby hiding, and no, we did not find out the gender. We didn't even get any clues of the gender. Sometimes when I'm looking at the ultrasound, I kind of get a hint of one way or the other, but just because the way the baby was positioned, there was like no way we were going to get any hints whatsoever. So we truly do not know the gender of this baby. It may be a boy, it may be a girl, who knows? The ultrasound tech told me that the baby weighs right around 11 ounces, which is right on target. And when they calculated my date by the size of the baby versus by what my due date currently is, it was only off by 1 day. They said the due date should be December 26th instead of December 27th, which, as you guys know, that's not enough to go changing your due date, but something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, I have all my records from my past pregnancies, not all of them, but most of them, and I had my last two current, they're not current, I had my last 2 ultrasounds for Mary and Grace at their 20-week ultrasound, and I just did a little bit of comparing of numbers to see if this baby was more like Grace's size or more like Mary. Now, you guys know that Mary weighed 8 pounds 1 ounce, and she was a full 2 weeks early, and Grace weighed 7 pounds 1 ounce, and she was what, 3 or 4 days early, if that. So 2 very different children, 2 different babies weighing totally different. So I was really curious how these stacked up. Now the kids said, Mom, you're due for a big baby, because Charity's big boned, John's small. Peter's big boned, Lydia's small. Mary's big boned, Grace is small. So if you're working the numbers and looking at that pattern, in theory, this one's supposed to be a bigger baby. But when I compare the numbers, this baby is actually more on target to be Grace's size. I have to say, I'm rather happy about that, because Mary was a tough baby to give birth to, and so was Peter. They were just tough kids, and they were bigger. They were 8 pounds. Pete was 8 pounds 10 ounces. So that extra pound and a half of weight does make a difference when you're trying to birth this baby. So I'm hoping that by looking at those numbers that this baby's going to be on the smaller side like Grace, because Grace was actually a very easy delivery. If you haven't watched her birth vlog, I will go ahead and put a link up here so you guys can go watch that. But if you watch it, you'll see that it was a very, I don't want to say it was an easy labor, but it really wasn't. After my water broke, I think I pushed 3 times, maybe 4 times, and then once her head started crowning, I didn't push anymore, and she just naturally went whoop right into my midwife's hands. So, you know, I couldn't have asked for a better delivery. Mary, I mean, I felt like I worked and worked and worked and worked on getting her out. And then I said to Art, is she ever going to get out? I really thought she was stuck. And Art said she looked like she was stuck. She wasn't stuck. She was just a bigger baby. So let's hope that this means this is going to be a nice, smaller size, easy labor and delivery, right? Isn't that every woman's dream? They want a easy delivery and everything goes smoothly. So other than that, those are the 2 big things that happened this week. I haven't done much walking since a week ago because of that issue I had with my blood sugar, but I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm hoping the weather cooperates. It's really beautiful out this morning, and I can get a couple walks in this week. I'm still trying for that goal of 2 to 3 walks a week, and again, they're 2 to 3 miles each, just trying to keep my fitness up. Would like to do a little bit more exercise-wise strength training, but I'm not sure I can fit that. You know, a walk is about the amount of time I can scooch away from the kids for a little while. So that's the scoop for 19 weeks. The day that I'm filming this, I am 19 weeks and 6 days pregnant. So we are pretty much at the halfway point, and I have to say I'm very excited about that. I feel like I've climbed the hill and now I'm starting to go down the other side. Now of course the other side tends to be a little bit on the harder side because you get bigger and more uncomfortable. I feel like I can breathe a sigh of relief now that I've had the ultrasound. Everything looked good on it. You know, they didn't see any deformities, the heart looked good, the placenta looked good. Oh, and we were talking about, in my last video, about I was thinking this was an anterior placenta. It is not, it is a posterior placenta. Again, that's a big relief because there's a lot of, as I explained this in my other videos, there's more concerns when you have an anterior placenta, so I was really happy to hear that. And now I feel like I can start planning for this home birth. So let me give you a quick belly shot. Everybody is commenting that I look like I have popped. I think it's just different clothes that I wear, but I'll let you guys take a look and tell me what you think. So there you have it, my 19-week pregnancy update. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel where I'm hopefully doing weekly or semi-weekly updates, pregnancy updates, and now that we work towards having a home birth. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you for our next video. Bye!